it's really sunny out, which has very energized me. Thank you for putting up with my enthusiasm, and thank you for being here. Real Life Revised is a series that is sponsored by the Butler University MFA in Creative Writing. Thank you to Booth a Journal for being our unofficial best friend journal sponsor in town. Thank you to Indiana Humanities. We are at the Nicholson House, which is headquarters for Indiana Humanities, your premier arts and humanities nonprofit in town. If you'd like to make a donation to them, there are a ton of QR codes around this building. They keep things like this happening and accessible for free for everyone. My name is Sam Ferrante. I am just the loudmouth. John Strauss makes everything work online. This show is being recorded and hosted on our good friends at WQRT. You can find that on the QR codes in your program. That's Big Car. Our features today, thank you so much, are David Strange, Cayden Crouch, and Mazzy Booth, who will be featuring together, Susan Lerner, Natale Solmer, and Joy Hernandez. And then we have 5 incredible open micers, some of whom are coming back to the mic for the first time in a long time, which we're excited about. There is one important rule for these. Everybody gets 5 minutes. If you hit that 5 minutes, you are going to hear this bell. Don't freak out. Just calmly get to where you can get to. To bless the mic before we bring up anybody else, it's Women's History Month. So happy Women's History Month. Happy Women's Future Month. We are going to read the premier women's history poem, I think, which is Kim Addonizio, To the Woman Crying Uncontrollably in the Next Stall. And it's a little heavy, but I think it ends real good. So work with me. If you ever woke in your dress at 4 a.m. ever, closed your legs to someone you loved, opened them for someone you didn't, moved against a pillow in the dark, stood miserably on a beach, seaweed clinging to your ankles, paid good money for a bad haircut, backed away from a mirror that wanted to kill you, bled into the back seat for lack of a tampon, if you swam across a river under rain, sang, using a dildo for a microphone, stayed up to watch the moon eat the sun entire, ripped out the stitches in your heart, because why not? If you think nothing and no one can, listen, I love you. Joy is coming. And that, of course, is a sonnet, and every poem is a love poem, even if it is hard. Okay, our first reader today, not a woman, but we love him anyway. It is going to be David Strange, who hosts Listen Please, and I'll plug it so he doesn't take part of his time. Listen Please is going to be March 12th. That's this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Chatterbox. Another one of our open micers will be featuring there. And David's one-sentence book art rec, Portrait of the Alcoholic by Kaveh Akbar, because it's perfect for anyone thinking about getting sober, newly sober, or like me, sober for a few years. So please give it up for the incomparable David Strange.
God is a catfish from the White River in Martin County, Indiana, and we would eat him on summer Sundays after Mass. Sometimes we would eat him on the lawn of his own house as the sun shone through the sycamore leaves, creating its own stained glass on the grass beneath our feet. We named our biggest county festival after him, the Catfish Festival, and we would walk up and down the main street to look at the vendors selling knives, quartz figurines, and paintings of the American West, even though we were smack dab in the middle of it. Up the road and around the corner is the bridge where men fish for him. The biggest of the summer means bragging rights for the year. Some would be mounted, others would soon be fried and fed to those finishing games of softball in the park. When night came, we would sit in a truck bed or on the hood of a car, still warm from the July sun. The grease from the feast of him earlier in the day still on our fingertips and lips. Around us, fireworks of all kinds, but towards the heavens was where our eyes would always end up. We would inch our hands closer to each other in hopes that they would meet. If even briefly, we would live off that touch for weeks. We would make plans for the next day. We would tell ourselves that this was the rest of our lives. In the morning, we would know what we were going to eat that day. Thank you. I feel guilty about every tattoo I've ever gotten. When I hear church bells, I feel guilt. My brain tells me that you forgot God, that you're late for the Lord, as if the Lord keeps a pocket watch, notching each minute with another in purgatory. When I hear church bells, I can feel the love that a community can show, or at least claim to, the idea of an acceptance, the idea of a belonging. When I hear church bells, I feel the time moving faster and the bells hit for more than 12, and they ring for more than just the word. When I hear church bells, I see the red setting sun behind the skyline, and I tell you that I'll talk to you later because I know telling you I'll see you later might be a lie. When I hear church bells, I think of the abandoned church on the corner. What was the last prayer spoken there? When I hear church bells, I hear the sound of a world. When I hear church bells, I want to go home. Thank you. An ode to my alcoholism during the pandemic. Empty bottles cluttered the corner of my small kitchen in my small apartment. What were once red, white, clear, and brown are now just shapes without a soul. It might have been my shame that kept them there by the fridge. Catholic guilt still strong, like the smell of incense that stays in the air and lingers well after it was lit. But then the world fell apart. On social media, they were saying the grocery stores would run empty. Businesses would shut down and never reopen. Online learning would now be the new norm. But would the power stay on? Would the water still run? The shame now had a purpose. The empties had a reason. While the water still came clean from the tap, I could fill those bottles. I could replace my shame with something useful. The tops of my cabinets in my tiny apartment kitchen began to look like a house full of college kids. Bottles lined the top of my cabinets like I was bragging about how much I could put down. I needed to keep drinking. I needed to have fresh water, just in case the world kept catching on fire. And I know that through my kitchen and around the corner there are stairs that lead to my apartment door. And out that open door, I will find a world with the water still running, and I will find my sobriety, and I will find her, and I will see everyone I've ever loved loving me back. But today I am a drunk and I am thankful. Thank you. It's been the hardest thing to do, not to ramble with a microphone. This is my last poem. Please talk to me afterwards. It's titled, The Light Changes. If I still lived in town, where would we be? Would we be in the garden while the children washed the tomatoes in the kitchen? My hair still shaggy like you liked it? Monet told us that the light is constantly changing, and there are days I can see the time shift in the sun. I'd still be a drunk if I were still in town. I'd still be on that stool. You'd have asked me if I was happy. Would I have realized that I wasn't? What made the light change? There are too many questions if I still lived in town. There are too many cracks if I still lived in town. Someone would make a mistake. The light shines on you now. It changes. Do we still know each other? It changes. In another reality we never did, it changes. We'll meet again. It changes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. I don't know if we always have to turn our shame into something useful, but that's a banger line, though. I think that's great, and I'm going to think about that for a long time. Our next reader today is going to be J.D. Amick. His one-sentence book, Art Wreck, is an Oscar short, which is the best part of every Oscar season, and it's Alien from 2023. So please help me welcome J.D. Amick.
Thank you, Sam. Some pieces from a larger cycle where I imagine that my Mexican mother still remembers that she is Mexican. In the dream, my mother is still Mexican. Do you know you're Mexican, Mom? I feel like most days you don't know that. I feel like most days you think you were born American, and I know you were teased mercilessly by other Mexican kids for not learning English fast enough. But when you tell me all the times you were made fun of for your big, wide Indio nose, I know that all those other brown kids have the same wide nostrils and high arched nose. They did not do that teasing. And I know you'd cut it off if you could. Did you still think you were Mexican when you visited your birthplace in Durango for that funeral when I was barely 8 and very scared while Dad was furious he had to be an actual parent for a few days? Did you still think you were Mexican when you came home to us in Chicago and I was furious that you were careless enough to bring me Mega Blocks instead of Legos? I am so sorry. If I could give my left hand to take back that callousness of my 7-year-old self that had no idea he came from another world, I would. Did you still think you were Mexican at the funeral? In a slim black dress, I imagine no wrinkles on your face, or maybe they're just beginning to crease themselves into your skin. 9 years of my father kept carving himself into your face, all our faces. I imagine the air dusty. I imagine our skin may be dry and aching as tears roll down through these new riverbeds. If I could dig into my flesh, Mom, and find in it all the shades of Durango, would you proudly call me Mexican? Yourself. Would you grab handfuls of it with me, throw it into the air, and scream with me and release the grito I know has to still live in both our chests and dance as they harmonize on the warm wind? Would you hold your breath before releasing a sigh, a contented sigh of your real name? Would you live as Griselda, as I have tried to live as JD? These letters feel tethered to neither arid scrub and saguaros or dense Pennsylvania forests, to letters, no air between them to sing or breathe. In the dream, my mother is still Mexican, and I call her to tell her I finally used Mama Mika's old tortilla press. I did not make the masa that is a kind of care and vulnerability that I cannot yet embody. If I cup the dough, too dry, too wet, too salty, too timid, too embarrassed to try. The best I can do is press this lever down. Degrees of force I can push, but I cannot make. But in the dream, my mother is still Mexican. And in Spanish, maybe she tells me, Mijo, that's okay. The next time you come home, we'll make it together. And she cries a little, and I cry a little, because in the dream, these tethers to Mama Mika, to Mexico, keep us both together, stronger, in the face of those who would tear us apart right now. And instead, in the dream, I tear a fresh tortilla and dip it in the leftover mole I made yesterday, that my mother made 5 years ago before I moved away, that Mama Mika made in that tiny home on Mozart Street in Chicago in the 70s, that her mother made in Durango 20 more years and 2,000 miles prior. Thank you.
Thank you very much, JD. This is a very historic moment for Real Life Revised. This is our first ever dual act. Can two people, two artists, make it happen in 5 minutes? Cayden, who promised me they could. So this is going to be Cayden Crouch and Mazzy Booth. Their art recommendation is Louise Bonnet, an LA painter, correct? And their book recommendation, everybody should read, any age, The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. Please give so much applause for Cayden Crouch and Mazzy Booth.
I'm Mazzy.
And I'm Cayden.
We both grew up in very different places, but ended up in the same city with almost identical identities.
So we are going to explore that dichotomy with 2 original poems of ours in conversation with each other, followed immediately by a joint poem we wrote together in December.
I bled in my boxers, and I grew out of my boots, and I've begun to realize that adulthood never tastes as sweet as it does driving by yourself for the first time at 16.
I yearn for a love that brings me the same comfort as driving through those Appalachian mountains on my way back home.
I found myself old and boring, and I worry if I'll ever be alluring, searching for someone to find me interesting enough for us both.
West Virginia is where I learned to fish with my pawpaw, how to do a cartwheel, to throw a baseball.
Indy has me surrounded, on all sides, on all fours. That's why I have to go. I mean, what else would you expect me to do? If you were being hunted, you'd do the same.
West Virginia is where I learned to forgive without an apology, and that sometimes love comes with unknown conditions.
I know I can't be brash, and I know you'll want to say goodbye. You have me surrounded, on all sides, on 2 legs.
West Virginia, it's in the air I breathe and the twang when I sing. It's the home where my heart resides, but...
Everywhere I look here, it's you. The buildings, the streetlights on Mass Ave, that's why I have to go. This city is just a place full of things that I never said.
Seeing those Appalachian mountains in my rearview mirror showed me that home is always closer than it may appear.
Have you ever felt hunted, or maybe I mean haunted? Whatever, I just can't stay. I'll run away, on all fours.
I think what could finally fix me is sitting on the back porch of that house on Barstow Street.
Behind me, I hear the busy street.
Behind me, I hear the trees rustle.
I look to my left, and on the porch, almost touching mine, I see my neighbor whose name I do not know.
I look to my right, to my neighbor off in the distance who brings us food from his garden.
In my backyard, the swing set creaks. At recess, the kids ask me why they didn't see me on Sunday. Around the corner is the church I've never gone to, but 30 minutes away is New York City, where God resides in the CBGBs.
Right down the road is the church where God knows my name, and 30 minutes away is the closest grocery store. In the car, I say pissed off. My mom corrects ticked off.
In the car, my mom politely yells for fuckers to get out of the way.
I was told to be careful with my words, they have meaning. God is always watching.
God was the drag queen with a beard, harmonizing with my mom and me.
Where was God when the girl in the 8th grade spat the word lesbian like a dirty word? Where was God when we both grew up poor?
I grew up poor because the United States isn't kind to artists and musicians. My parents trying to put food on the table and passion into their work.
I grew up poor because the federal government doesn't give a fuck about West Virginians. Hell, half the nation doesn't know we're a state. We're at a crossroads.
Traded out skyscrapers and close-by neighbors for a city you can drive through in 20.
Traded out mountain views and creek stomping for cornfields and the Salesforce Tower. We're at a crossroads.
Expansion to the west so my dad could conquer a new career.
Moved up north so I could grow, but God, I missed the deer. We're at a crossroads.
I walked through the trench of the old battlefield, and who knew the revolution would bring me here?
I walked through the Appalachians and took the country roads. Who knew I'd end up queer? We're at a crossroads.
I feel too Midwestern for Jersey.
I feel too urban for home. In Indy, we found comfort in creative communities. Welcome to the crossroads. Thank you.
What? There's a minute 40 left on the phone. That economy of language. Oh, I got like chills. That's so exciting. That reminds me, there are a ton of other open mics and reading series, et cetera, going on in town. And that piece open mic, I believe, is where the slam team for Indianapolis is happening and headquartered and all of those things. They're going to Southern Fried very soon, and they are fundraising right now. So if you look up that piece open mic on Instagram, you can support them and learn more about work that is happening. More than just one inside our bodies, but multiple bodies. That was incredible. One more time for Cayden and Mazzy, because there's 2 of them. Happy Women's History Month. Our next reader is going to be Natale Solmer, who has books for sale in the back of the room. $20 for Water Castle from Kelsey Books, and it is beautiful. Go check out those books in the back. Natale Solmer's one-sentence book art recommendation is Anything by Sheila Hetty. So please help me welcome Natale Solmer.
Thank you. So I'm going to read one from Water Castle. Water Castle number 1. Consider with me my moats, my double water body. I merge and become all lake. I swallow myself, the castle, the houses. I flood the men, the sons. Suck up your waters, they say. No time for daughters. Imaginary daughters disappearing as I approach middle age. Suddenly my body overflows. Finally allowed land. For I have rented my rooms, rented my bathtubs in these complexes, these wannabe castles. Their lakes machine dug, ponds shining green at me, reflecting raggedy lawn and willows. Every castle was a glass house. Now the mirror turns me into great auntie. Now I sleep in a house of brick and eat a spoonful of soil it sits on. Flowers everywhere. Okay. I recently had some manifestos published. Okay, this is called Girl on the Spectrum Manifesto number 2. We are diagnosed general anxiety. We are diagnosed panic disorder, and at least 3 phobias: wind, flying, food in restaurants. We are not a monolith. The we is me, maybe you. We are diagnosed depression, suicidal ideation. You don't think we are autistic and feel very free to tell us so. Wearing tights and dresses sent us into fits as children. You could sustain a crying fit longer than anyone I had ever seen, Mother says. Yes, our mothers caused trauma. We're angry at what we weren't, but they had no idea, no help, especially for those of us invisible, labeled just shy or gifted. No one else's children ran away and hid during their birthday parties, didn't want to be looked at, Mother says. You fell down crying in the kitchen every day after school for all of 1st grade, but couldn't say why. We didn't know why, couldn't articulate out loud. Very early on, we wondered why we had to be born. We started writing down what we couldn't speak. We rehearsed before we spoke. We know you cannot imagine this now unless you knew us when, in the time before the masks we mastered. Okay. So I've been revisiting. I was a grocery store florist at Marsh, if anybody knows Marsh, for like 13 years before I went to grad school to teach poetry and English. So I had a whole manuscript about flower poems, and I'm revisiting it. Floral lady, I'm no longer you. I'm the academic who steals your voice, steals your flowers, and writes a florist poem, observing you, observing the grocery store, reporting on the aisles and overflowing produce metaphors, describing the cashier's face, imagining her life, employing cheap and tired floral motifs, which litter top-tier publications. Floral lady, have I become this? Am I still you? Thinking about what you were saying, all the selves, still peering into the back room's old seafood department mirror, ruminating on your fate, your face inside a crab claw. Maybe I am still you. Behind my belly, a slip of a troubled young mother, electric in a green apron, still there, where I meditated daily by the vegetable misters and smoothed my hair, looking into each glass case. Don't you know how poets are about their hair? I once wrote that, but an academic editor axed it. Ditto the lines where I judged the customers when I was placed at the little store in Carmel, land of money. That man said, absolutely not. Take out these lines about Pilates women who march their thigh gaps at you and designer leggings and demand greener bananas. It is cruel to write of them and judge. Only customers, particularly those who would live in this neighborhood, are allowed to write about you.
I can't believe we get to do this every month. I think that every single month, I'm so grateful that everybody comes and just does this. Because it can be quite vulnerable to be up here, but I think it's also, at least for me, I'm sunburned and sensitive. But like when I'm back there, it's vulnerable for me too. Because I'll hear something like, I've recently had some manifestos published and be like, I should get manifestos published. So I just appreciate that. Thank you very much, Natalie. Our next writer is Tylyn K. Johnson, and their one-sentence book art recommendation is one album I've returned to is Complex Simplicity by Tidra Moses. Excellent. I don't know anything about Tylyn, but I think we're going to learn. Come on up, Tylyn. Everybody give it up.
Hi. I'm going to read a slightly older piece titled Masterclass in Inner Intimacy. Tell me your name, about the sounds which represent your entire soul. Preach to me the stories held deep in the color of your skin and the tales told to you as a child. I desire to know what you lust for in your most carnal form, about when you first realized what your body can do in the thralls of heat, and of those chills, the ones that freeze time for a moment in your spine. I wish to hear of how the years have changed you, how you've become seasoned like the finest meal, with the most sacred of spices. Show me how you would make your art in this twisted world, the way you'd create a scene with your bare hands, the sounds that would resonate in the space between you and me, and how you'd bring a taste to the tip of my tongue, or what scent you'd allow to travel the breeze circling around us, bringing us closer. Reveal to me the things you live for in life, whether it's the things that excite your very essence, or the experiences you would style out of your own breed of creativity. Tell me about your worst habit, what you regret with your every fiber, about why you love or hate putting on button-ups, or how the winds pull at a dress. Let's talk about your first dream, your worst nightmare, and those existential fears that secretly keep you up at night. I want to know about your guilty pleasures and celebrity crushes, as well as the god or goddesses you might see when you close your eyes, or how their voice changes you, how their silence tears at you. I want to hear about how grass feels and smells to you, the emotion of the earth it grows from. and the chronicles of life that time has spilled into your veins. Tell me why you breathe, what you yearn to taste with your whole being, where your mind takes you when everything around you becomes still. Teach me the language your fingers speak when they touch, the songs the wind whispers in your ear about the meaning of the blood in you and where it comes from, where it goes when it drips from your scars. Please, tell me all of these things so I can show you how to fall in love with yourself one last time, so you can love yourself more than anything else that has existed before, while, or after you breathe, you beautiful, beautiful being of this universe. Thank you.
Sometimes you hear people up here who have such a distinctive reading voice. That was absolutely wild. And to do statement after statement, but at least to me, every single one felt like a question, but I don't think there's a question mark in there. That was really beautiful. Thank you, Tylyn. Okay, our next reader is Joy Hernandez, who is a muralist in town, and their one-sentence book and art recommendation, they circled art recommendation, not a book recommendation, is shameless self-promo. I'm the Bean the Astronaut muralist and run the Full Circle 9 gallery. Well, all right then. And Joy runs the Full Circle 9 gallery. So please help me welcome Joy Hernandez.
This is my first time doing anything like this ever, so here we go. All right. Memories are a weird thing. One moment, you're just living it. It's your present, the now. The next, it's like you're watching what you experienced as a movie in your head. At least that's how my memory works anyway. March 8th, 2011 is a day I will never forget. It sparked a tale I've told so many times over the last 15 years. I still see some parts of it, but it feels like I'm reading from a book. On this day 15 years ago, my grandpa Bob was killed in a car crash just outside his town in Illinois. The other driver had a broken toe. The other driver was also the brother-in-law of that county sheriff. My grandpa was my biggest cheerleader. With my dad overseas, he was at all of my school events. With my name on the program or the roster, he was there. He taught me I could do whatever I put my mind to. To him, I was limitless. Everything that followed still feels surreal in the retelling. Right away, things seemed off. They didn't do a blood alcohol test on the other driver as required by law. To show no conflict of interest, they had the Illinois State Police take over the case the day after the scene was cleared. I shot a story with Patty Spittler for Pet Pals TV about a pet psychic, apparently also a people psychic, who told me the other guy was lying when he said he saw my grandpa coming, asleep at the wheel, when he had honked his horn and flashed his lights to wake him up. She said my grandpa's spirit was all around me. In his shirt pocket had been an index card with my name and address written on it, along with the common German table prayer, inexplicably. I started asking questions. I started requesting publicly available files, ISP and coroner reports, and 19 photos. I took pictures of my grandfather's car going into photog mode like I've done for so long at my job. It looked like the front end had been chopped off by a giant axe, when really it had been slammed back into the cab of the car, the engine blasting the steering wheel, which exploded my grandfather's heart. The pet psychic said Grandpa realized what was about to happen and knew he was about to rejoin my grandmother, who had died the previous fall. I recorded their routes on my phone. The other driver's side of the road had a fallow cornfield. My grandfather's had a metal retaining wall, yet somehow the driver ended up closer to that wall, as he said he was trying to duck out of my grandfather's way. The hills said he couldn't have seen my grandpa coming. It was topographically impossible. We tried to file a wrongful death lawsuit on the other driver, but no one could tell who crossed that center line, mostly due to how badly the scene was handled. No one wanted the case with that uncertainty. A month before the statute was up, the other driver filed suit against my grandfather's estate and insurance company for $150,000, $50,000 over what insurance would pay out, meaning my mom and my uncle would have to pay the other driver for his broken toe. I teamed up with the insurance company's lawyer. I gave him what I had. When they subpoenaed the same photos, they only got 12. The brother-in-law sheriff got mad at the coroner for releasing this other 7 to me so soon after the crash, but they were public records, and I knew I was doing what my grandfather would have wanted me to do. The suit dragged on for years. We were incensed, exhausted, but determined. That man could not get a dime from any of us. He'd been offered $16,000 towards a new truck early on, but he'd turned that down, blinking dollar signs. By the fall of 2015, the judge said that the other driver had to decide if he was going to have surgery on his toe 4.5 years later. If he won, it would factor into his winnings. He decided against it with no guarantees of a win. He'd be on the hook for the cost if he'd lost. The judge threw out the case. I received a call from the insurance company's lawyer, and he explained how the hearing had gone. I'd been taking notes. So, what does that mean? I asked. It means we vindicated your grandfather. We will never have enough proof now, because how it was handled then, to win any sort of criminal justice for your grandfather. But at least we got vindication. I put my pen down and I cried. I couldn't believe it. We'd essentially won. We'd fought off that nonsense and won. He would get no money, not for his truck, not for his toe, not from my fatherless elders. We won. I called my mom. So, it's over? I think so, unless he files an appeal. But the lawyer said he'd be stupid to do that. Well, the other driver did file an appeal. He lost that too, almost exactly 6 years after the crash. He got nothing. No $16,000, no $150,000, no recouping sunk costs on the case, nothing. And here I am commemorating the day with a bunch of strangers reciting the story in 5 minutes or less, still somewhat in disbelief that it had all happened, but it did.
Head psychic and also a people psychic. That was a real thing that was just said. First time ever! Also, oh my God, that's crazy, but I'm so glad you won. So that's CNF, creative nonfiction. That's all real, but better. Incredible. Our final reader of the night is going to be Ellie. Ellie is part of Indie Untitled Collective, which is meeting this Saturday, second Saturday of every month at Indie Reads, which is in Fountain Square. They do a really cool generative poetry workshop for the first hour and a half, and then they mingle, and then at 6 o'clock, every second Saturday, they do an open mic, but it's just poetry, right? Sorry, prose writers, it's just poetry. So thank you so much for being here, Ellie. Ellie's one-sentence book art recommendation is Meet Me in the Bathroom by Lizzie Goodman, which is creative nonfiction. Excellent. Okay, everybody clap for Ellie.
Anybody didn't know Mercury is in retrograde, and I try to read this poem every time that it is, just because it's like a magical spell-like thing that happens. So today you guys get to hear it. It's called Mercury in Retrograde or something like that. Gut punch deja vu on a Wednesday afternoon. Echoes of past trauma or premonition maturing. A time warp is here. Less subtle than they lead you to believe. I don't fight it now. Let it settle into me instead. I forget them quickly now. An acknowledgement with dismissal. Knock on the open door comes unannounced. A ghost in the flesh nearly 3 years late. Mercury is in retrograde. There is an eclipse this week or something like that. I can't remember. Do we want our exes returning, or is it a warning of sorts? Do they even count as exes? They were never really mine. But how many are too many under these circumstances? This isn't the one I summoned 3 days ago. Of course I remember you. I've gaslit myself into hating you, waiting for the sun to set so that I can offer my middle finger up to the retirees' porch lights. I'm jealous of their homes with your fingerprints sealed inside, long since washed from my skin, imprinted on my soul for eternity, even when I scrub hard to be rid of you completely. I let you in again, and you remember the things about me I've forgotten. Back to where we left off, a deep dive into our present selves through the lens of a lover. I changed your name, and then mine. Wholesale adjustments in the wake you left behind. You were the reason I became who I was always meant to be. When you asked for my name, is it because you saw I changed it? I'm not her anymore, but you already know that. Tell me, why do they always leave me for the crazy ones, and then return to complain? Permanent consequences this time. I could help you, but you won't let me. You want casual, and I say I can do that. It's the first lie I've told in years. I break the promise to myself. I hesitate when you lean in. In my defense, I thought I wrote that poem about the other one. The wall of pain hits again when you lean in to kiss me, and I remember the 2 cups of coffee and pickles from lunch. I pull back. I know it will hurt, but nobody holds me like you do. How do I break this curse of being right at the wrong time, of always being left behind, or maybe I am the luckiest girl in the world, gifted conjugal visits from a future life, while another one teaches me how to be loved. Or maybe it's just 2 F-boys with Mercury in retrograde or something like that. This one is called What I Need Right Now. What I need right now is the 40-year-old pantry cabinet seasoned with a full McCormick fleet, Chex Mix, Little Debbie, oat and honey at eye level, apron tucked away, my brother's hands not yet added, bacon burnt because Grandma knows I've trained myself to like it that way. What I need is an empty womb void of unwanted gross, a body unburdened by 30 years of mistreatment, surrendered in the face of genetic warfare, ready to carry on an unknown number of years into an unknown future, for trusting this body to become second nature. What I need is to worship in the crypts of youth, with once strangers now friends, to be laid at Jacob's feet, an offering, eyes closed, floating on the foam in the wake of his curated ocean, born from his self-sacrifice for Robert Smith. What I need is a perfume of unspent fuel burning my nostrils, same as the never-ending sun boils blood and breath, Sam throwing up in the woods, cicadas attacking at the rise of bedlam, of straight pipes and self-doubt, greasy diners after midnight, the cure-all. What I need is the Rio Grande tickling my toes, that one flat rock, my afternoon bed, pine needles resting on forest floor, hammock stained pink, saved from devastation, familiar fresh mountain air filling my not yet tired lungs, my last shred of innocence hanging by a thread. What I need is for him to show up like he has 6 times before, to sink my fingers into his curls, stand bravely in the gaze of his selflessness, hold off dreaming to hold him instead, and bear witness to the possibility of us, even knowing it disappears at sunup. What I need right now is to feel not unlovable, to feel unalone, to know that I exist, and that existence is not meaningless.
Yeah. That's the whole show. I cannot believe we get to do this every single month. And if you get here by like 4:10, you will get on that open mic. I can't promise that. I think you will get on that open mic. This was incredible. We have so many thank yous. The one that I don't think I've thanked on the mic yet is Bethany. She does all of the photography, without which this never happened, because if we don't photograph it and put it on the internet, does it even exist, truly? We have this house until 6, talk to each other. Everybody in this room is a writer. Even if you don't think you're a writer, you are a writer. Talk to everybody here. There's so much going on. And thank you for being here. We'll see you next month.
This has been Real Life Revised, a series of readings with Indiana writers, produced by Sam Ferrante and John Strauss, in partnership with Indiana Humanities, the Butler MFA in Creative Writing, Booth Magazine, and WQRT Radio, part of the Garfield Park Creative Community from Big Car Collaborative.